Hello, I'm going to be talking to you today about real estate AC after coronavirus. In evolutionary biology, there is a theory called punctuated equilibrium. This holds that instead of slowly evolving over time, when evolutionary changes occur, they happen rapidly and suddenly. Species split into two distinct species, rather than one species gradually transforming into another. In a less dramatic, but I believe equally transformational way, this is where we are in the world of work and the office. The way things were in February must now be considered history. Everything has changed. However long it takes to get through the current pandemic, we are not going to return to the world as it was. And hard though it may be to believe right now, that is a good thing. We have an opportunity to do things we thought were not possible. Two zeitgeist changing things have occurred. First, we have been forced to realize that being inside in confined spaces with many other people potentially exposes each and every one of us to illness or worse. Our buildings can harm us. Secondly, across the globe, we have been part of the largest behavioral experiment in history. In a matter of days, the knowledge economy went from being 95% office-based to being 95% home-based. And the results of this experiment, well, with caveats, working from home works. In this example of how big inside can harm us, 9 people in a restaurant caught the virus thanks to the placement of an air conditioning unit. In this well-publicized example from China, we saw how spending hours together in an unventilated space led to dozens of employees catching COVID-19. The workplace acted as a petri dish. Now, we have known about the impact of environmental conditions for a very long time, but largely we have ignored the issue. Today, we no longer can. However, we are lucky in this because whilst we now need to take a close interest in the environment around us for health reasons, it just so happens that we will benefit from the productivity gains and financial returns that follow from working in optimized conditions. Put simply, humans' cognitive ability is maximized by being in spaces that are healthy. It's taken a pandemic to force us to do what we should have been doing anyway. This is a slide from a presentation given by the Shanghai-based but Canadian-led standards company Reset. As you can see, it is a known that cognitive function decreases above certain CO2 levels, and the same with increases in VOCs, volatile organic compounds. Increases in particulate matter 2.5 lead to increased risk of lung cancer and strokes. And there is much more in this vein. Without knowing the quality of the air in any office you go into, you are frankly endangering yourself. Pre-pandemic, that danger might just have been feeling a bit drowsy in a meeting. During a pandemic, it might mean rather more. Now, there have been many surveys done asking how people are getting on working from home, but Leesman, who have been conducting workplace surveys for over 10 years, probably is the best. By August 2020, they had conducted over 126,000 individual surveys. In their standard survey, they always ask people whether their workplace enables them to work productively. As you see here, nearly 20% more people say their home office enables them to be productive than their office. Across many variables, the home office wins. For private conversations, business confidential discussions, for thinking and creative thinking, for reading. In each case, the office comes second. The same applies for mobile computing equipment, for Wi-Fi, for remote access to files, and for telephony. Home office wins. Now, where the office wins is not at all surprising. Space to spread out, learning from others, informal social interaction, and of course, hosting visitors, clients, or customers. And again, not surprisingly, offices tend to have better chairs, desks, fixed computers, wired connectivity, and printing capabilities. But what's so striking is how easy it would be to update the home office with decent chairs and desks, leaving the office only really of value for collaborative uses. And this is not even a function of age, as so many commentators wrongly assume. In the eyes of employees, the home office beats the office across all age bands. Where the home office fails, and fails badly, is when someone has to work in a non-work specific location, such as a dining table in the kitchen. Productivity drops badly in such circumstances. Within the Leesman data, this applied to circa 25% of people. Now, who wants what is driven by a few core factors. The longer the commute, the higher the desire for remote becomes. Good public transportation makes a big difference. Age matters. Younger employees are more desirous of buzzy offices, having access to senior colleagues, and for the after-hours social life. Those with children or older, less social types are more bothered about just getting stuff done. Job task and type is critical. How much of someone's job involves collaborative or individually focused work? In each case, they need a space that best enables the work they do. Character also matters. To a large degree, offices are for extroverts. In many instances, offices work far less well for introverts than extroverts. And overall, people work best when they are given what Daniel Pink described as purpose, autonomy, mastery. Having flexibility to work in many different locations goes a long way to providing this. For companies, distributed work also has many advantages. The last 6 months has shown most companies that most of what they do can be done away from the office, and made clear what would be best done in an office. So cutting the total amount of space they occupy by 10 to 30% would seem to be relatively easy to do. Now, savings from small HQs could be simply banked, but that would not be wise. Reassigning the savings to better space or local space for employees and stipends for home office costs would be better. Rethinking real estate needs from end to end would be best. Planning around hub, home, and roam, where employees can make best use of whatever space they need, wherever they are, would be the optimum. Less but better. Think less but better. Corporates working with distributed teams also have the potential to benefit from far larger talent pools. There is a huge difference in the availability of talent that only needs to be in HQ 1 or 2 days a week, as opposed to 5. And as we have seen, a well thought out workplace strategy will lead to happier, healthier, more productive employees, as well as providing the flexibility to scale up or down as needs be, that is so very clearly required by companies today. So it is no surprise to see that tech companies are saying, we're off, because they can be. Twitter says no need to come back to the office. Google, don't bother till mid-2021. Same with Facebook. GitLab, Automatic, they both have 1,200 plus employees across 60 plus countries, but no offices. Box are saying stay away till 2021, and then we'll go hybrid. Dropbox are going virtual first, as is Shopify, and on it goes. But tech is tech. Mostly companies will be less extreme in their responses. Professor Nicholas Bloom of the Stanford Institute for Economic Policy Research conducted a large survey in May 2020 and found that 25% of people wanted to work remotely full-time and 20% wanted to be in the office full-time. For the rest, a standard bell curve distribution is likely, with most people looking to work in the office 2 or 3 days a week. So what are the options? Well, companies could de-densify, taking more space for each person in the office, but I'm pretty certain that this is not what they will be doing. Companies could keep the same space they have now and accept very low space utilization. Companies could move to smaller space, but spread out usage over the 5 days. Companies could timeshare an office with someone else where they only occupy on certain days of the week. Companies could move to a private office with a flex operator that allowed them to spill over into shared spaces as required. Or companies could work up a hub, home, roam strategy where they keep a smaller but most likely much better central HQ, which employees visit sparingly, whilst also working from home or near home or wherever by taking out membership with one or more network flex operator. But the key takeaway is focusing on less but better, more flexible space. Now, how do companies make this upheaval work in their favor? Well, first off, the most essential technology they must employ is to survey their employees. They need to ask everyone how things worked for them before the pandemic started. What was their commute? What percentage of their time do they spend in the office? And what did they do when they were there? Meetings, desk work, presentations, what? Then companies need to find out how working from home has been for them. What has worked well? What has not? What do they need? How do they score the overall experience? Finally, they need to ask them what they would want after the pandemic. How many days would they want to be in the office or home or elsewhere? What type of spaces and equipment would they need? From all of this data, companies can then work out what space they really require, what equipment they need to procure, both physical and digital, and also what corporate policies they need to implement around schedules, meetings, and documentation. All of this will be an iterative process. So generally speaking, companies should take their time, collect data, and take care in analyzing it. Now, a distributed company is a different animal to an office-centric company. Almost certainly better for everyone involved if you get it right, And technology is at the heart of everything. First off, you need to ensure the environmental conditions in your building are being monitored in real time and systems optimized accordingly. How much air is being recirculated? You need to know. You need to aim for as much touchless technology as possible. Building entry, lift operation, doors, taps, meeting room booking, and so on. Materials used within the workplace need to be antimicrobial wherever possible. Cleaning needs to be regular and preferably automated. But the most important technology for the workplace of the future is that which allows you to understand the wants, needs, and desires of each and every employee, and that provides you with quantitative and qualitative data about how well your real estate strategy is enabling them to be as happy, healthy, and productive as they can be. That's the aim. Making it happen requires humans and machines to work together. You'll never win unless you can do that, as all the smart people in Proptech realize. Now, all of this represents a significant change in the nature of demand within the office sector. And of course, whenever such things happen, there are winners and there are losers. Perhaps the biggest winner is the customer, which is something of a first for the real estate industry. By rethinking how much space they need, where they need it, and how they are going to use it, companies should be able to win on two fronts. They should be able to utilize the space they do occupy more efficiently and effectively, whilst at the same time providing better, more flexible arrangements for their employees, who in turn should be more productive and more satisfied with their workplace options. The landlords who win from this new world are those that can provide flexibility to their customers, that have a network of spaces to offer, and who put together an ecosystem of suppliers that enables them to satisfy more of their customers' needs. The big losers will be those who cannot provide any of this, and there will be many that cannot. The key point is that the landlord needs to be able to offer customers optionality. It will be very bad news if you cannot offer optionality. Creating this optionality will require PropTech solutions up and down the value chain. And we are talking about all of this being required over the next 12 to 18 months. Without the forcing function of coronavirus, this would have been a decade-long process. A good example of optionality in practice can be seen in the hub on Causeway, a development by Boston Properties. It will contain long-term office, short-term office, flex space, hotel amenities, residential units, amongst other things. Real estate assets are morphing. This talk may be focused on the office market, but truth be told, what is an office today? Right now, it's probably your home. This time is different. Everything really is changing. What people want in the future, no, scrap that. What people demand in the future will not be what they wanted in the past. They are living through a truly global event. They are seeing how what happens in one part of the world can impact on another. In many parts of the world, people have experienced environmental conditions unlike anything they have experienced before. For the first time in many decades, people in northern India have been able to see the Himalayas from 200 kilometers away. Many of us who live in cities have breathed cleaner air for the first time in a long time. All of this is giving us a better understanding of how we, the human race, affect the world around us, and how a more sustainable world is both possible and a requirement. Hence the great Proptech flywheel. Our built environment needs to be safe and healthy for people to work, rest, and play in. But to make it such, we need to embrace a broad, deep, and pervasive notion of sustainability. The imperative and the opportunity for Proptech in this situation is therefore immense. Very short term, it no doubt feels to many more like a heart attack. But once the immediate dust settles, you will see the technology in real estate landscape has been utterly transformed. We are all aware that throughout the built environment, from design to finance, construction, operation, onto sale or lease, the use of technology to remove friction and to enable discovery is mostly suboptimal. We do not do much in real estate very efficiently or very effectively. We waste energy. We generate horrendous amounts of carbon. We don't collect much data, and that we do collect is often not put to much use. The critical point, though, is that we know how to do almost everything better. We could dramatically improve the performance of this industry. We have the tools, the capabilities, and the technologies we need to do so. Not at scale, but around the globe, there are solutions to most of the known knowns of inefficiency and waste. But to date, the issue has been incentives, isn't it always? As a whole, the industry has not had the incentives to bother to put to use all the tools in our toolbox. 10 years into a real estate bull market is no time for innovation. It's just not needed. It's not even a criticism. Business people have been optimizing their businesses very successfully for the world as it has been. Today, though, all of this is out of the window. Our commercial assets are largely empty. In many instances, this might be the case for a while. But worse than that, our customers are not going to return until we can prove to them that they are safe and healthy places to be. They are now acutely aware of the dangers of the environmental conditions around us, of the importance of good hygiene and cleanliness, of the very air they breathe. Now, landlords in historic market downturns always pull out the same playbook: reduce overheads, cut capex, minimize expenditure, hunker down, survive. But that's not going to work this time. This time is different. The lack of demand is not a cyclical market issue. It is an existential health and safety one. Plus, as we have seen, the chain linking work and the office is gone. You will not be able to cut your costs to get through this. This time, the only way through the crisis will be by spending money on upgrades to ventilation systems, on new materials, on new hardware, on new fittings and furnishings, on cleaning regimes, on new cleaning processes, on communication, on data, on analytics, on interactions with customers, on increased staffing, on new business models, and new ideas about what constitutes the office and even work itself. In a sentence, everything that we know we should have done over the last 10 years, but have not had to, we need to do now. That better built environment we so often talked about, well, now is the time to build it. So, to conclude, there was a lot of change already underway. Technology is relentlessly changing the nature of the work we do. AI is becoming commonplace. We are moving to a human plus machine world. The form factor of offices is changing. No more office as spreadsheet, where everyone was sitting at a desk or cell doing something structured, repeatable, or predictable. Flexible working is becoming the defining characteristic of the workplace, where we are working in different places and spaces and buying services on demand. The income of a building is becoming more than just rent. And new KPIs are becoming the norm: sustainability, flexibility, health and well-being. User experience is becoming what really matters in real estate. And brand is starting to equate to value. The operator matters. Passive investment is still possible, but low risk will equate to low reward. And space not suited to this new world is losing value fast. The asset matters. Fundamentally, the real estate industry is becoming about more than real estate. Industrial assets are set for long-term growth, but how to profit? Most of the value being created is in services. And most likely the retail apocalypse, well, that's set to continue. There are opportunities, but it's a hard, complicated market. But now, welcome to 2030 in 2020. Coronavirus has shrunk the decade. Things that would have taken 10 years are now likely to occur in the next 12 to 18 months. Distributed working will grow. The only question is to what degree. Demand for space will decline at a macro level. But demand for space will grow at a micro level. Those assets best suited for flexible working and operated at the highest level will be in high demand, because there won't be that many of them. Operating space that provides a great user experience is not easy. The purpose of the HQ will change. It will be about we, not me, about places to work with others, not for individual work. That will be best done elsewhere. The HQ office will be somewhere people want to go to, not somewhere they need to go to. The fundamental purpose of an HQ office will be to make people healthy, happy, and productive. And everywhere, space will become more human and data-centric. There will be no success without flexibility. The more flexibility, the better. Companies will take less space and officially for less time, but they will want better space and will pay more for it. Sustainability and indoor air quality will be a significant competitive advantage. Much of the real estate industry will remain unsustainable, and with poor environmental conditions, quality will outperform. To thrive to the maximum in this new world, we will require owners and operators and occupiers to align the interests of each other. The adversarial nature of real estate is a dead end. And finally, asset classes are set to overlap, to merge or morph into one another. Work and life will increasingly be one, and we may work at home or relax at work. These are difficult times, but rich in opportunity. The future will not be an iteration of the past. This time is different. Make the most of it. Thank you.